Okay, today we're looking at subwoofer levels, how to get them right, and what I do, or essentially what I've discovered is the easiest way to figure out subwoofer levels and know beforehand what the levels are going to be, say, in the receiver and the LFE channel itself, or the subwoofer channel itself, like -8, right, on the actual channel itself, why, and like how to actually get there. So basically, target curves. So let's look at a Harman target curve here, just quickly. Normalize the volume to 75. So basically what that does is at 1 kilohertz with 2 octaves, which is essentially 1 octave in REW, from 500 hertz to 2K? Yeah, it should be 2K. Yeah, so it's essentially pink noise, right? The pink noise range of a speaker, 500 hertz to 2K, around that area. On average, now, the volume is matched to 75 dB, right? Again, this is on average, so it won't actually say 75 right there. It says 75.1, so it's close enough, but on average, in that pink noise range, we are at 75 dB. So why this is important is because that's the levels your speakers will be playing at, right? That's the levels they'll be at, hopefully. Hopefully we'll eventually get all the levels matched, and that's what it be. I use the center channel as my gauge for that is 75 dB. That's when my system is at 75 dB, and then I'll get on to like my subs to see what levels they're at. So this isn't like simply back in the old days where you set with your Radio Shack meter, you set the center channel to 75 dB and the subwoofer channel to 85 dB. It just doesn't work that way, because if your speaker, your center channel, or all of your speakers were matched to 75 dB, the LFE was probably measuring from the LFE channel, which is 10 dB louder, especially on, say, a Spears and Munsell desk. It is 10 dB louder, the LFE channel. When you are listening to music, that would put your bass at 75 dB, because music doesn't have the plus 10 dB boost in it, and you'd essentially have flat bass. So this like kind of old method of 75 dB for a channel, 85 dB for a subwoofer channel is just, you can't do that with target curves. You just cannot do it with target curves. Your levels have to essentially match the target curve. So if, on average, if we are at 75 dB here at 1K, where the bass rise here is, the bass is at 82.3. So if let's just say your subs did measure 75 dB as the same as your speakers. Well, you'd actually have to raise them by 7.3 dB. So the volume on your subs is too low, and the only way to get it back would be, especially with Acoustica, would from OCA program that essentially calibrates the system for you, would just put plus 7 dB in the subwoofer channels to make up for it. And if you're putting plus 7 dB on the subwoofer channel, and potentially even positive EQ on the channel, the chances of clipping are high. Especially, I'm going to say especially on a Denon, because the only receivers I've owned are Denons. So I don't know if other manufacturers have this problem of the subwoofer channel actually clipping. So this is again why you need to get your subwoofer level correct. So if your subwoofer level was, let's say, and we're just talking a single sub for now. If your sub level was, say, 2 to 3 dB louder than your target, then it allows room to use negative volume in the receiver on the subwoofer channel itself to bring it down to the target. So now with 2 subs, you actually gain, with a second sub, you gain 6 dB. With a third sub, you gain 12. And with a fourth sub, you're actually gaining 18, potential of 18 dB extra SPL in that room just because you have 4 subs. So this has to be like kind of figured out beforehand. I see a lot of people with 4 subs actually having too much positive volume in their subs themselves, and then Acoustica is actually going to have to bring the levels down. If anyone doesn't know what Acoustica is, it's a program here made by Obsessive Compulsive Audiophile. It's still only new. This video was released 3 months ago, and it feels like forever, to be honest. But he takes REW measurements, puts them through his Acoustica program, works everything out, sets where the levels are supposed to be, and everything like that. And a lot of the results that I see from people on either on the AVS forum or the Facebook group is their bass levels are either just way too low, and you have to put so much positive gain into the system to get the levels back, or their subs are too high, and Acoustica has to do massive negative massive negative levels just to get the levels correct. So right now, that is something I want to avoid. My first EQ, I did this. So this is my movie calibration. So I'm allowing a plus 6 dB boost in the actual channel itself, which again is really something you want to now think about as well. If you're using boosts on the receiver, you now have to take those positive 6 dB boosts into account as well. So when this level says 82.3, that would really be plus 6, because I don't want one part of the sub area. Let's just say I was getting a dip at say 50 hertz, and it did use the available plus 6 dB boost, right? I have to think now that the levels are actually going beyond this level. They're actually being boosted beyond that just to make up for, say, some problem in the room. But it's pushing the receiver to potentially, I would say, out of bounds, right? It's if clipping is at a certain level, and that positive 6 dB boost would put you into clipping, we have to now figure out a system and a way to take care of this and get the levels correct and not get the receiver to say negative 12. So if you see my current calibration, so I'm a plus 6 dB boost. Where are the levels? Right, so down here I've got the message. Required subwoofer volume exceeds the AVR volume adjustments limit by +1. Essentially what that means is the receiver will be using negative 12 no matter what, and there's no real workaround for that. Now, admittedly, what's happening here is OCA is essentially taking the subwoofer EQ target curve that gets put into Acoustica and then that gets sent to your receiver. He's taking that target curve and bringing down the target curve by, say, like here, we're above by 1. We're actually only above by 0.81. As you can see here, 12.81, but it's rounding off and saying it is 1. So if you just lowered the target curve that goes to the subwoofer by 0.81 negative, then it just completely takes care of this problem. Now it's great that this software can do that, and again, if you're using 4 subs, this might be difficult for you to kind of manage this volume, and you could just say, look, Acoustica is going to take care of this problem, right? if you, let's just say on all 4 subs, you're over by, actually you might not be able to see that here. If that said you were over by, let's just say 6 dB, Acoustica does have the ability, again, to bring down that level regardless of using the -12. You could just max out use -12, but it will bring the actual target level down for that channel beyond this. So it's not necessarily a problem. I don't know how far this can go. Well, actually I do. With Odyssey, you can bring the levels down. I honestly think the levels down by -40. So that might be on the extreme end. I 100% know that you can bring the levels down by -20, by at least 20. So, as well as this volume getting applied as well. So, if anything, you do want your subs on the higher side, and if you kind of mess up, like I did here on my first calibration, using this system and then thinking, my sub levels are actually too high, you can't. The Acoustica will just take care of this. Now, if you was in a manual situation where you was using multi-EQX here, you actually have to. You only have -12. The only as much as you could go is -12. So you have to like get the levels in a ballpark where you can actually work with the receiver. So knowing that also there is a plus 6 dB gain going on the actual channel itself, knowing that, what I do mentally in my head is I just consider if there is a 6 dB boost available anywhere along the frequency curve of that, I'm just, in my head, I consider that to be a plus 6 dB gain just on the actual channel. So basically what I'm saying is, when we've finished all of our calibration, done all of our measurements, got the sub levels done, I do not want my receiver to say -6 on the subwoofer channel. And the reason is because essentially what that means is the channel is at 0. It's flat at 0. Admittedly, this plus 6 dB will only get applied to one part of the sub. I know it will. It's around, I think it's around 72 dB that I have a dip. And it will try and boost that area. So now, one workaround for this is to not use boosts on the subwoofer channel for the EQ. The problem with doing that is it just does not have the impact. In my opinion, it just doesn't. It just doesn't have the impact and weight that I want from an EQ. I think plus 6 dB, I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but it's plus 6 dB boost sounds so good. At least allowing that. With a mini DSP, when you're doing it manually, only allow plus 6 dB boosts. This system just sounds so much better. Before, when I was like first getting into like EQ, I was having like plus 18 boosts in certain parts of the subs. And this is with my old subs, and I think I may have even done it with these subs. It doesn't sound good. It stretches the subs just way too far. You can have walls just shaking for almost no reason at all. It's like, why are my walls shaking? I've had that before in this room. It's just things you learn over time, that a safe area for boosting in a sub channel is plus 6 dB, and plus 6 dB should be enough to take care of any dips, any issues with the response, and you get a really clean response measurement from doing that. Now, if you've got a problem like I have that with the dip and it is more than 6 dB, you just, for now, you could move the subs and see if you get a better response elsewhere, but mine are in the front corners, so I'm kind of like restricted. I'm like, that's basically where I want my subs to be. I've played with positions of bringing them in slightly, bringing them out slightly. This is where they actually get the best response. So my only thing now is to improve that dip that I have, is to add a third and a fourth sub. And hopefully from the pressure of all of the subs in the room, it will start to fill in. Even if it wasn't perfect, it would start to fill in that gap. But when you listen to a movie, I don't think to myself, yeah, I'm missing bass at 72 dB because of that like dip. Your ears really don't hear that. If you measure it in a psychoacoustic way, that sharp dip, you can't even hear it. So anyway, getting a little off track here. But this is generally the idea, right? So I want my receiver, when all said and done, for the LFE channel, subwoofer channel, to say negative, between probably -8 and -11. That's what I want. That is what I'm looking for. So how we do this, so real quick as well. Let's go here. Let's pull another harmony in. And we'll align it again to 75 dB. So if I wanted my sub, I want a single sub to be above this level. And again, the reason why is because of the +6 dB thing. I want to also be away from that. So if I set my subs essentially to 85 dB, I should be, and then we put, 85 dB. Then add to data. Then we add a second sub. Alright, so wait, if it was 85.3 dB, that is what, 3 dB louder. 85, 90. So that would be actually 90. So +2. Yes, I'm counting on my hands. +2. Add to data. Right, so when you add the second sub, and again, if the second sub is truly gaining +6 dB's difference, that is where the levels will actually be. So with one sub and the other, and obviously them both gain matched. This is something that I would, if this is like a serious room for you, I would gain match both subs near field, even if you are using something like an SVS app or an ELAC app for their subs. I have ELACs downstairs, and I know they have, I use the app for that. I would also go near field and measure that. Because just because, like, say on an SVS app, I know that I think the general setting on an SVS app is like -10. I think a lot of people settle around -10 or something on the volume there. If the left sub or the other sub, or whichever sub it may be, if the other sub had an offset of, say, it was potentially 1 dB louder, well, that sub will always output more power if that one, the right sub's on -10 and the other one's on -10. The one sub will always be louder. So I personally like to have subs that are playing exactly the same volume, so you get exactly the same pressure, exactly the same power out of them. So and then when you measure, like especially again in a symmetrical room like this, when you measure the left sub and then the right sub, on average they should be about the same volume, and Acoustica shouldn't really need to do any adjustments. It could be very minor adjustments, like -2, 0.2, like again very, very minor, or +0.2, just to get the offset of the subs, but they should be about right. They shouldn't be, in my opinion, they shouldn't be 1 dB's difference or 2 dB's difference. That's significant difference in the volume of the subs. And I have done this before, where I've measured in my seat the left sub and the right sub and saw, well, one of the subs is actually a little louder than the other, and I've brought the sub level up to match that in the seat. and I feel as though I can sense that the bass is getting pushed more from one side. So I personally like equal power, equal output, and then let the system like deal with the volume levels. So, all right, that's really the thought process here. So basically, I'm looking for a sub. If a sub says 85, a single sub, if it says 85 dB, 84, 85, I'd probably be happy with 84, but 84, 85, then you get plus 6 dB from the other sub, which should put it then at 90 dB on average. And then you would have to use negative volume in the channel and avoid clipping. That's really the whole point here. So at 90 dB, if the target was 82, you have 8 dB to play with, but essentially you might only have 2 dB to play with because you're using that plus 6 dB boost as well. And it's just something I'm thinking about. So yeah, that's it. Let's really get going here. Now I did actually start some of this earlier because I started filming and then realized I actually did not reset my receiver. So OCA here gives you an odd file here, it's called. And essentially, when you go into it, here, it's detected my Denon A1H here. You would press here number 3, optimize your receiver for manual measurements. And essentially what this does is, you can do this manually as well, as long as there's no calibration on the Odyssey that you have, which again, that may not happen. The only workaround for then would be to measure with Odyssey turned off. So, but what this does is it puts all of the channels distances at, well, I'll show you. Might as well show you what it's actually done, because you could do this yourself manually if you wanted to. So all of the distances are reset to 2.75, every single channel. Levels, all of the levels are 0. Crossovers, everything is full range. Subwoofer out, LFE, yeah. The low pass filter on the subwoofer, when measuring, should be at 250 Hertz, because you don't want the roll off changing the signal in any way. Like if this is set to 120 Hertz, you don't want that, not for measuring. Once you've finished measurements though, in my opinion, it should go back to 120 Hertz. So that's basically it. And a lot of this can be done manually. If you're like, look, I don't want to run this odd file, then just use these settings. Turn Odyssey off. At that point, then you'd need to turn Odyssey off, and you can just run your measurements like that. So, but essentially, yeah, my receiver is like reset now. Again, I almost tried to do a video and realized that my levels were, I was still using a calibration. So basically what I do, I want to get, for now, I want to get these subs and my system in the ballpark for volume. So this is the average at 75 dB. Yeah, 75.1. So 75.1 dB, that's the actual average. We're not going to actually worry about this for now, but later we will, because I want to sweep as well. I want to sweep the speakers and the sub just to make sure that it is producing those volumes. So this is the SPL meter in REW, and we need a generator. So speaker, set this to speaker, and again this is 500 Hertz to 2K, which is again pink noise, that pink noise area. Center channel. So basically we're going to get this to, I want this to say 75 dB. All right, that's good. Now, for now at least, while we're getting the actual volumes of, say, the subwoofer and things like that, relative to my 75 dB measurement here, I want to see if my right sub is, what it's putting out. What level is it actually putting out? So let's go to the mini DSP here. So this is the SHD I have. These are XLRs. The reason I'm going through a mini DSP, right now at least, is literally so I can use a mute, use the mute functions. Other than that, like making a video without being able to mute, I think at this point would be hell. So, because I would have to like get up, unplug, and I'm like, look, I'm not doing that. In the future, there could be reasons to use a mini DSP as well, even using like a calibration system like Acoustica. You could actually pre-cal if you wanted to. Run a pre-cal on with REW and the mini DSP. You could even put your plus 6 dB boost in here instead of having Acoustica do it. But what I've done is I'm using input 1 with an XLR and input 2 with the other XLR. So I'm keeping my left and right channels independent, which is not something I used to do. But the reason for doing that is so we still have control over timing of the left and the right channels. So Acoustica can like work out timing between all of that, still work out phase. This is basically, right now, this is just set up for pass-through. And what that means is there's no PEQ, it's all flat. All of these were actually reset. I specifically reset everything. Crossovers, nothing is getting applied. There's no delays, there's no gains. Nothing is inverted. So right now I am just using this essentially as a pass-through. And the thought process here as well is I'm using XLRs, so there should not be loss. Well, there isn't loss even going through a mini DSP and then going to the sub. It could be a placebo effect, but I was listening to music last night and I went through the mini DSP. I just wired it all up and I was like, does this sound smoother? Does the bass sound actually smoother and cleaner going through a mini DSP with nothing applying? Probably a placebo, but I don't know. But for now, yeah, I'm just going to use these as mute, which again is super useful. And if I'm not losing anything by going through a mini DSP here, because I'm using XLRs, then at least for now I gain this this level of control. Now, if you've got subs with apps and you can actually mute or completely turn off or down with the app, that's going to be very useful as well. Like my ELACs, you can actually turn them all the way down to essentially mute and measure then individually like that. So that was the only problem with these monolith THX subs I did not love, is they didn't have an app. But because they didn't have an app, they're essentially you're sacrificing all of that technology and you're just getting much cheaper subs, right? Than something like SVS. SVS, you are also paying a premium price, even though their subs are great. They produce incredible subwoofers. You are paying somewhat of a premium still for having the app on the phone, which is again extremely useful. If money was no concern, sure, I'd probably go with an SVS. Some of their new top of the line subs, really good, and you have an app control as well. Like, it's just excellent. I think that 17-inch SVS sub, whew, that looks good. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I want my single sub. I've just muted the other one. Let's double check. I want my single sub over here, my right one, to say 85 dB. Now I have messed with this before, so I might just get lucky and it say 85. And again, the whole point here is to actually be over the target, which the target is 82.3. So if I'm around 85, and then you add 6 dB for the next sub as well, we'll gain match both subs after that, don't worry. But then you've gained the 6 dB as well, and you're 2 dB over. That means the receiver, when Acoustica is finished, will hopefully say around -8. I don't care if it says -10. But anywhere in that ballpark as well, and you've avoided clipping, is where I want to be. So let's see what we're at. If I have to go over there, I'm going to have to like place my headphones like down. Not the best content, but I'd rather just do that than cut for now. So generator. Now we do the sub and we go to LFE. Now I'm really hoping that these test tones are not applying the plus 10 dB from the subwoofer channel itself. If they are, I will cut and I'll kind of figure everything out, get everything done, and then move on. We can actually check it by sweeping the subwoofer channel itself, not with REW, but with OCA's files. Yeah, that does sound loud. What did I want? 85. I mean, I could go 86. Alright, I'm going to go over there and lower this because it's really loud. So 86. Then you gain 6 dB on top of that. That would put us at 92. And you would lower the sub channel by negative. Let me stop this. Then you would lower the sub channel by negative 10, which would again be, for me, completely fine. I just want to be on the negative side of things, and again, I want to try and have a system where I'm not using the receiver's -12, and Acoustica is then just having to bring the levels down as well. That's all what I'm trying to do here. So if we are at 86, again, that is actually put us. Again, relative now to the center channel, which was 75.1, with this target, which is the target I'm essentially going to be using for movers, my subwoofer or subwoofers need to be at 82.3. They're not. They're going to be at 86. Then you add another sub, 92, 4, 6, yeah, 92, and that puts us around 10 dB, right? Now, what I want to do now is get ready to actually, now that's set, well, before we do that, let's just double check the, that was the correct volume from the sub, because you never know, chances are it might actually be 10 dB higher. If it is, like I said, I will fix that. I'll cut the video, I'll fix it, I'll get the levels correct. But generally that was the idea, is as long as you know the target level of your subwoofer compared to your center, then you know what level the subwoofers actually need to be, right? When measured, even with pink noise. But let's see how they're measuring with sweeps. So my speakers, center Atmos. Yep. Alright, Dolby Atmos is active. From file. Yep. Reference file. If you're downloading OCA's sweep test tones, it will come with a reference file, this 256K, that you have to tell, essentially give to REW, and tell it this is the length of the sweep, right? So it's a 256K, which means it's a 5-second sweep. It actually tells you here at the top there. You might not be able to see it. There. 256K, 5 seconds. It even says the range, 0 to 24K. So, and then once that file's in place, you can press start, and then REW will listen for a chirp sound, essentially, that's on this file, which will essentially start it measuring. So let's get going. So that is 75 dB right there. That looks pretty good to me. So that average generator and the sweep itself are the same levels. OCA's sweeps are at negative 12 dBFS, and if you can see here, the generator is at negative 12 dBFS. So the levels are the same. Now, no, I was gonna do an average and see if anything actually changes, but it doesn't matter. That looks to me like 75 dB. So let's actually sweep the sub channel now and see what level that is. So sub. Did I mute? Oh yeah. Yeah, I just want one sub, don't I? I need a target curve here just to see where the levels of the sub is, even though I can see it another way. Okay, so 75 there, and then there's this target. To be honest, we're actually high on a few parts here compared to that. So now let's sweep the sub channel. It's too low. So basically the generator test tone there is positive 10. Can you turn it off? Like, can I put like a negative? Oh, I could just put negative 10 there, couldn't I? Or positive? Anyway, I will fix this. So what you can also do is in SPL and phase. So basically my sub gets to around 20 hertz. I think it can go to 8. It goes to about 18 and then it really starts to drop. But generally speaking, from 20 hertz to, I'm going to go to around 136, right? So I just want to know the average level output of this sub. So can you do it here? No, you can't. You have to do it on SPL and phase. So it was from 20k to 136. 130 there. So it says here the average volume is 76. So I want 85. So yeah, so that generator thing really didn't help me out, did it? Now I think there might be a setting somewhere that I can. I wonder if yeah, I was sure there was a setting that I had seen. Maybe it's from this output. Negative 10 LFE. I wonder if that gets applied to the other thing as well. The generator. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut the video just here, just to get my sub level correct. I will be back. Just one sec. Okay. I figured some people actually might want to see this, the way I'm doing this method. Not just with pink noise and doing it with actual sweeps. So yeah, let's continue. Basically what I'm doing here is sweeping, turning up until my average level is essentially where I want it to be. So again, if my target is 82.3, I want around 84, 85, right? I want the average level to be about 85. So you add 6, which would put you at 91, which would put you about -9 on the receiver after all calibrations are done. So if it's a little bit higher, like -10, I don't mind. So I'm just using this screen for now. This has been displayed differently because I'm using OCA's preferences right now. I haven't readjusted this screen to show the correct scale of things. I actually understand why OCA uses this because it does give you a better almost understanding of like a larger picture of what's going on in the system. So I will keep this for now. So basically my last measurement, let's go again from 20 Hertz, hold shift, left click, hold left click. We go to about 36 right there. The average level is 82.7. So, I mean, to be honest, I could go from, say, 20 Hertz to 120, really, which is the performance of the sub. I wonder about 80. So if you go to 80 Hertz, which is, again, most of the performance of what you want from the sub, it's at 82.7. And again, what are we looking for? That's 82.3, but I'm looking for about 85. So I will change the volume again, and I'll have to put my headphones down. Sorry about that. Okay, volume up again. Measure. Start. Okay, from 20 Hertz to around 80. Do we gain more? It's up to 120? Not really. So 83.8. Just a little bit more. get me to 85 is basically what I want. Let's see what we're at now. $84.7. We're basically pretty much spot on. So 84, 83. I'll lift it just a hair and see if we can just get on average to 85. Not a big deal here, to be honest. I could just leave this. So 85 would put me, what, 3 dB over? Yeah, basically 3 dB over, then plus 6 for the other subwoofer. 91. Okay, so it would be about 8 or 9 on the receiver. That's the way I'm looking at it. Let's try one more, just a little touch. Last one, I promise. $85 at this point. Okay, I'm going to go with it. Average 85 dB exact between 20 Hertz and 80, which is pink noise running through the sub at least. So, and then the curve at the start anyway. From 80 Hertz, the roll off for the 120 starts at 80, I believe. So, yeah, that is on average 85 dB for a sub. So if we now look at it, let's clear everything. So the target is there. Where's the last one? There. This sweep is 85 dB average. 280 Hertz from 120, from 20. So, and then compared to the target is 82.3. So this is now how you have to think about volumes, is your subwoofer level relative to your speaker and your target, and you have to think of it in this way now. I never used to think about it in this way. I just, for the longest time, I remember back in my old house, I used to just set my speakers to 75 dB and my sub to 85. That's what I thought you had to do. But when you're building your system around now an actual target curve, all of that goes out the way. You have to have this bass rise that you want. The sub levels need to be at a certain level. So now, admittedly, I am over here because now if I add the other one, you'll gain true 6 dB, at least hopefully, from another sub, and that will go over now to 91. So that's to be honest, that is the crux or the basics of this system. Even if you was doing this with one sub, technically we are what 2.7 dB loud even from one sub. So even with Acoustica, if you had one sub, it would still use negative 2.3, around 2.3 anyway, even for a single sub. But again, you just got to be a little careful about your boosting and things like that. If that was the case, if you was only using a single sub, I'd probably go like 7 or 8 dB loud, just louder on average than the target itself. And then it can use the negative volume on there as well, plus your boosts for the channel, and you shouldn't have clipping problems. For the most part, this is one way as well you can look at this, is as long as you are, like if my receiver said -7, I almost wouldn't care either, because as long as I am not at 6, I don't want it to say 6, because again, that basically means it's 0. I just want there to be enough room so we're avoiding that clipping line entirely, really. So, at least we hope. Now I've set the volume of the right sub. Now what I do is I'm going to gain match the right sub to the left. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to have to cut. I'm going to get everything set up. I'm going to get the mic. Now remove the mic or move the mic over to the right sub. Measure it near field. Now this, you can change volume, because now bringing the microphone to the sub itself, it is extremely loud when you get there, and essentially causes the microphone to clip in REW. I think once you go above 100 and something dB, it could be 100, I'm not too sure, it might be 100, it will essentially say overload, and really it's not valuable information at that point then. So now you can lower the volume on the receiver just to make sure the actual, because we'll get the 75 dB from the center thing back later, but as long as the volume of the two subs matches each other, what's actually coming out of them now is what I'm doing. Let me get that set up and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm ready. We're at near field, the right sub, and we're just going to see what is going on with volume. So SPL. Okay, we're over. Where's reset? It's over. Okay, one click down, restart. So it looks as though going into 99. Over. If that was me moving. Let's stop that. So I actually liked that. So it's basically mid 98, and so mid 98 clip 97. Just a little note for myself. So that is the volume of the right sub. Again, you don't now change the volume of, well, you don't change the volume of the right sub, and now you don't change the volume of the receiver. So whatever output was going to this right sub, the other one now has to match. So, and essentially I was mid 98, and it occasionally clipped down to 97. So that's the level I'm looking for on the other sub. And then they should measure, when measured back in this seat, at exactly the same volume, if you're in a symmetrical room. If you're not in a symmetrical room, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, honestly, how sub-volume is impacted by the room dimensions. But it may not be equal, but you have to do the best you can. All right, I'm going to stop here and move this now over to the left sub. One sec. Okay, we are ready to go on the left side. Now what I do is I use a box. It's just a cardboard box here. Somehow it's just at the perfect height where it brings the height of the system, and I've got a tray here, and the height of the actual microphone is essentially exactly the same height as the center of the woofer. For me, what I found is that this was actually last time. I found that not including, I have 3 ports at the bottom of my subs. SVS have 2, 3, and 1 ports at the bottom of their subs. I've personally found that the information of gain matching a sub is unnecessary to have those ports even open. You could either kind of block them with something like this, or I think most sub companies gives you ports to plug your ports at least while you're measuring. I didn't plug them, but I'm treating each side exactly the same. So I have a tray here, and the tray always goes to the inside of the sub. On the other side, it was the exact opposite, but again, still the inside of the sub. It levels up. There is one 4K Blu-ray disc case here, so it's always my microphone then is always the same distance to it, and it centers perfectly to the subwoofer itself. So both sides are equal every single time. And again, this just helped for not capturing the information in the ports and for getting it at the correct height. So, all right, now what we're going to do is see if we can get the volume matched to the other one. So let's go again. I haven't changed the volumes, nothing like that. So generator, play. Oh, wait. I know what we haven't done. Unmute. Now this side should be a lot louder because we have come down in volume. But I'll hopefully adjust this real quick. So generator. Okay, yeah, we're over. So where's my phone? I need my flashlight because I can't see around the back there. Okay, so we are loud. Oh, okay, one sec. Okay. Okay. What were we? 98.7, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, we're still too loud. I'll reset that in a minute. Okay. Let's see what we're at now. Okay, this is probably too loud. Too loud. We're hanging it. even though we're over there, we're hanging around in the 97s too much. Whereas the other one was 98 point mid. We're just hanging around in those 97s too much. So just lift it a little. Imagine having a phone app. That'd be so nice. That might be too much. Okay. I'll keep quiet and we'll just see what we got here. Getting a tiny impression that it is just still pinching low compared to the other one, just ever so slightly. Okay. I think this looks pretty good. Yeah, the majority of the time it is 98 and it pinches sometimes into 97. Don't worry about the over. So, good. Now, for peace of mind, what I'm going to do, just for peace of mind, is measure them both unmuted in each of these spots. The reason is just to make sure that, well, a mini DSP is not causing somehow the signal to be boosted when one is muted. I know it should be even, but I just want to see if that makes any difference at all when they're both playing, because in a system they will always be playing without each other's muted, so I just want to make sure that they're both okay. Now, you might say, why do that? But it's just kind of an OCD check for me to do, and even though the other sub is playing here and over there, this is so close that that volume over there shouldn't even influence this. So I'm OCD, so I'm going back over there. One sec. Okay, let's have a look. Back on the other side. Both subs are not muted. Let's just see how we're looking. Where am I? Generator. I can hear this making a noise, so I'm not having that. There we go. No noise. I had to move it back like a millimeter. but I'm not having it making noise like that. So one sec. Reset. Okay, it's actually mid to low 98s. Mid to low. It's actually mid to low. So okay, next again, this is just double checking, right? The reason I'm being like this is I'm just making sure that my subs are playing at both the same volume. And I mean, it's just something I like to do. You don't have to be so anal about this if you don't want to. You can just go to one side to the other, know what it was, and Acoustica will rebalance any volume problems that you do have, but I'm trying to make it so there is none to begin with in the first place. So, alright, next sub. Okay, mid 98. It's actually, yeah, it's mid to low 98s with a 97 clip. Let's see now with this one. Alright, I just moved it back like a tiny amount, because I can just hear sound. It's probably this box here. But again, I did it with the other one just to make sure. I think if anything, this one is just slightly too low. Let me change that. I need my flashlight. Okay. Let's do a reset. Am I going down? We're going the wrong way. It's happened before, trust me. Let's see. Okay, too much now. Alright, I was just checking that is the right way, because I think these dials get really sensitive. I'm going to make sure I'm not making any noise, just in case it's picking up on some of this. This sub is definitely different. It's more peaky. by the looks of it. With this pink noise, you can see it. It peaks more. It's not the average, and the averages, but the averages are lower. Has higher peak. We're close. I mean, we're close. I don't want to get to the point where if I literally go one tiny click and then it goes into the 99s, but I'm going to try one soft touch. I will be quiet. One sec. We'll reset. Whoa. So this sub, yeah, it looks as though it does have higher peaks, and this is like a case where it's kind of like I'm right on the edge. Should I go slightly over on volume, or under, and then potentially the difference between the two subs on average could be as little as 0.2, but there could be a difference there. I know Acoustica will fix this, but if anything, I think it should go down, again, back down to what it was, just a hair. One sec. I hope I changed that. We just fell there to 0.7, but I was going to say it's pretty consistent. This debatably could be a little touch loud. But I have a feeling with the dials on these, if I just, again, you go slightly too far, then you're out. I think this is close to the point where it's perfect. There's an occasional dip into the 97s. Then back into the 83s. 98s, sorry. I think this is it. Okay. I think that's it. Now, again, if you have an SVS, and I know you have like -20 all the way to 0. I guess you might have more, but I think it's -20 to 0. What's the volume increase from one point to the next? Is it 1 dB? Is it 1 dB per click? Because that could be too much. If you had to, and you were going through a mini DSP like this, and you wanted to do an offset, you could do an offset via the mini DSP. So imagine your left sub was exactly 1 dB louder, but the volumes on both of them, say you used an SVS app, or you was using an ELAC app, said exactly the same volume, like -10 on both, but one literally was 1 dB louder. You could put the gain here at -1 for the left sub. So you could do that. Now I think I don't know if I want to touch this, but yeah, I mean, you can get into the 0.1s here. So that left sub, if it was 0.1, if I even did think it was slightly just 0.1 loud, I could put that offset in like that. That could be worth doing. For now, I'm not going to do that. I don't want anything in the signal path changing and augmenting anything right now, at least. If I measured, like, or did all my measurements, and then I ran Acoustica, and Acoustica said sub 1 is 0.2 louder, what I could do, as long as the mic has not changed positions or anything like that, is put the offset in already into Mini DSP, remeasure, and then redo Acoustica and get the levels to 0, like to be perfectly matched. It's not a big deal. If it's under 1 dB, I don't consider it really to be a big problem, but that's something you can do. You could do that with a Mini DSP. So definitely a benefit to having it. Let's disconnect that for now. Alright, so for me, that's it. We've measured one of the subs, the right sub, to 85, about 85 average. We have gain matched the left sub to that volume, which would put, if you measure this now as 2 subs, the average volume should be 91. And we'll check it now if you want. So that's it. Then after that, I'm going to measure every single speaker in this room and get an Acoustica EQ going, calibration going. So that's the next part. But again, if that's mostly how you do the subwoofer thing. I'll show the volumes now. I may as well show that now, just in case you want to see it. And then if you don't want to see the rest of the calibration, then that's fine. But hopefully the levels will be as I've said at 91 average. So let's check it out. I'm going to move all this back there now, and we'll see. Okay, back. Everything's in position. We're getting ready to measure now. I'll show you the levels of the subs as well. What I've done is now we're in a position where all of the doors are closed. All of my upstairs doors are closed. Windows are closed. They're not open in the summer anyway because it's insanely hot here. I've actually got a heat advisory here as well. It's crazy hot. But all of the doors are closed. Air conditioning is actually off. I've told people in the house as well, look, I will be 30 minutes at the most measuring this system. I want air off because air can interfere with sound waves. And as well, depending on how heavy you have your air conditioning coming out. I've actually had to get them out a few times just to lower, dampen the air significantly. So when I'm watching a movie, I don't hear the air. So, I mean, one way of thinking about that as well, if you hear the air from your air vents for the air conditioning, you've essentially increased your noise floor. So it's definitely something to think about. But in the summer, when it's like, when you're in a heat wave like this, when we're in a heat wave in June and July, I kind of say screw it, because I can change the airflow in the house. And I know I'm talking about air right now, but I'm just talking about like controlling this room for volume and things like that. But in the summer, I just kind of let the vents go higher because it's just too warm, right? And that is a bit of a sacrifice. But as soon as you get out of the July months, for the most part, I can put my air conditioning really back to normal. It's very low. You can hardly hear it. But specifically though, when you're measuring, try and get everything off. That noise floor as low as it possibly can in the house. You know, dogs, kids, things like that. Either get them out the house or, you know, just tell them, I'm measuring for 30 minutes, I want you quiet. So, yeah, so we're going to have to get the volume levels correct for the center. We can do that with a mini DS. We can do that with REW because we don't have to suffer from this LFE 10 dB thing. I'll have to find out if you can set that to -10 in the measurement screen, and it also applies to this. Not a big deal. I mean, it kind of messed us up, but if you didn't want to do that like I did afterwards, we swept our way to our average volume, you can do that. I mean, I don't care. When I'm doing this, like, and I'm not making a video, I don't care how long things take. I want it done right. When it's done right, I can move on. Center. So, pink noise, center. I'm actually okay with that. Just into 75. Just peaking into 75. Now the volume doesn't get touched at all. Just want to make sure my channels, even though the main channels are 0. Yeah, I did reset them. I just want to check, because I use input trims. I put offsets on my rear surrounds. I just want to make sure everything's 0. It is 0. So everything is essentially flat right now. Okay, so let's sweep now the center channel. They're all my segments of my video. So let's just sweep the center. Okay. Good. So we're looking good there at 75 dB. Let's see. No, I'm actually not going to change the volume on and do anything. That's fine. That's fine like that. So now we sweep the subs and we're just going to see. The average volume should be at 91. Could be just under. Because again, just in case we're not getting the 6 dB. Just need to check they're not muted. Just want to check. Nothing's muted. There's no gains going on. We are good. We can disconnect. Okay. Let's do a sub sweep. Okay, so we're obviously louder than the target, which is exactly how we wanted it to be, but what is the actual average volume? Hopefully it will be 90, 91. If I've done my calculations correctly. Let's see. So we'll go up to 80 Hertz. 80 Hertz right there. Average is 91.0 dB. So the volume, as long as you know that that second sub is giving you true 6 dB volume, then you know what levels to put your subs compared to your target curve. Obviously, you have to pick your own target curve. You have to know what you want. And once you have it, like imagine you was using a Dirac with a 10 dB rise, which in my opinion is ridiculous. I think that the Dirac curves are a 10 dB rise and it's just flat to 24K. Not for me. It's too much. That's too aggressive attack in the mid-range. There's no way. It has to, in my opinion, it has to taper down. So, but again, you would have to make sure one sub is playing 10 dB louder than your average center channel. You just do the same thing, right? You do it in the same way. 10 dB is a lot. Relative difference to your mid-range pink noise. But if that's the target you actually want, that's the levels you have to put in to get it to match that target. Again, you don't want to be in a situation where your levels on your subs are too low on the actual subs themselves, and the receiver is having to use positive gains. That you're in a bad spot. Because I do see people posting as well, like their results, and some people say, hey, my sub say +4 or my sub say +2. Immediately I write measure again. Like, increase the volumes of the subs and measure again. Like, there's no world where you can be in a positive, you can have positive numbers there. In my opinion, there's just no way. So, okay, that's locked. Let's unlock this. And we can get rid of everything. So, all right, we're in a position now where we can just measure. We will need to mute each sub still, but I have control over that. We're going to start with the center, and we're just going to go through these. I measure the fronts first, because I'm behind everything here. I'm kind of out of the way. And I may as well... I don't think it matters in Acoustica, the order in which you measure things anymore. I think as long as the measurements exist in there, they can be in any order, I think. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Because Acoustica now always uses the reference speaker anyway as the front left. So, yeah. Alright, so we're ready for the center. But yeah, I'm going to sweep all of the speakers at the front first, including the front Atmos speakers. And then I'm going to move this and come out of the way, because I don't want to be in any of the way here. If you're in line of sight of speakers, you can't measure like that. You have to, you know. All right, let's go. So, yeah. So these are just to confirm with people here. These are all OCA's sweeps. And what I've done is I've just picked out the ones for my speakers, right? These are only for me. There's other ones, these other ones, like here, top, middle, left, top middles, top, middle, right. I don't have those speakers, so I just pulled them out, made my own folder, and put only my speakers in here. So yeah, let's just start. I won't be doing a lot of talking here. I kind of want to now just get this moving and get this calibrated and run Acoustica, and then we'll finish the video. So let's get everything measured. Let's go. Okay, play the next one while we're messing around. C. Front left or FL. Let's do FL. front right, let's get that loaded in. You know the reference speaker is the front left because it's essentially perfect in time, 0.0086 away, so it's like completely dead on. The front right is actually almost on it, so but the center 0.77, so that's 10 inches away from the reference speaker, so there's going to have to be serious time changes there. This one, again, front right, not so much. Alright, so front height, left. Okay, front height left. Yeah, when I was on the floor earlier, I was actually a little worried. I was going to get a cramp because I've just started running again now. I had a calf injury. Well, not injury. I ran and just kind of pulled it like 2 weeks ago. So as you do, I asked AI how long I should take off, and they said you should probably take off 2 weeks. So 3 weeks would be very good to take off. You'd have a full recovery at that point, but they said 2 weeks should be fine. So I did 2 weeks, and yeah, I was perfect. Okay, front height right. Right, so now I'm going to do the subs because, like I said, I don't want to I have to come back here anyway. Should I do the subs at the end or not? See, I'm really OCD. I need my subs at the bottom of the list. That's an illness right there. All right, I'm going to move to the front and I'm going to measure the back, and then we'll do the subs. 1 sec. Okay, I'm just on the side here. No line of sight problems here. So where were we? Rear height left. Yeah, we could do the rears. I'll do the rears now. Sometimes I do think to myself, if other people are as OCD as I am, I'm sure they are. I'm sure some people are even worse, but yeah. Well, you know who is as OCD as I am. I'm sure OCA is. So rear height left. Rear height left, yeah. I think you have to be sometimes. You have to do things in an absolute way to not just know things are going to work. I don't know. rear height right. Surround left. Okay. We'll label it in the same way. Surround left A. Surround right. Yeah, because I was doing some stretching before my run this morning. I actually got a cramp in my foot. I was like, oh God. I was like, I must be out of electrolytes or something. If anyone else is a runner, let me know. I'd like to talk to some other runners. I'm just getting into it now. Surround right A. Is that it? You don't realise how unfit you are until you start running. I like to take 3 minutes off my time this year. I can run a 5k in about 27 minutes, but I want to see if I can get to 24. Surround back left. Let me just double check that. Surround back left, surround back right. So yeah. Started running about 3 times a week now, so hopefully no more injuries. And biggest thing is stretching. I'm making sure I stretch now, so I'm injury free. Surround back right. Alright, now we're doing the subs and we're moving again. Let's go. Okay. It's getting hot in here. Subwoofer. Mini DSP. Mute the right one. Mute right. So there's a new update for if you're in the beta for Mini DSP, you can actually export all of your presets now, which is really nice. I saved all of my presets last night, and basically I don't use these other ones, these are the banks, and I muted every single channel, and then I realized you can actually save each one to one file. I was like, wow, that's actually nice. So, okay, sub. Left sub. SW1. Okay. SW2. Let's make a new folder. ZZZZZ. OCA new calibration. Okay, we'll save that in there. Save all. OCA new calibration. New calibration. Well, original speaker measurements. Yeah. Okay, that's that. So, basically ready to go. May as well get rid of these, honestly. Still have the files, I could still work them out if I wanted to, if something went a little off, but I don't think it has. But these can go. Let's open Acoustica here. So we've got the file start optimizer. Yes. Oh, wait. Let's do this. Let's come out of this. Don't need grok. This can be closed. Actually, I will keep it. I just got to open the API. API server is running. Okay. Good. Now we can go. So yeah, I've been using, like, playing around with the AI to see how good it is at taking my information of target curves and either replicating it or making similar target curves. Like, you know, it is surprising what you can do with AI. With this type of work, AI is really nice. I mean, I think OCA said he actually used AI to help him program Acoustica. So, okay. What kind of settings should we use? Standard or what I've been using lately, or at least testing, and it's pretty good. I think we use those. So, yeah, if anyone hasn't actually seen this before, this is Acoustica, and essentially it can communicate with REW and calibrate things for you, and then send the file, the calibration file, to your receiver, as though Odyssey, basically exactly the same way Odyssey would do. Alright, so subwoofer EQ boost +6 sounds the best. So the minimum for every speaker, no matter what speaker it is 80 Hz. I don't want any speaker in this room playing 60 Hz or 40 Hz. You have two subwoofers for a reason. They produce better bass than your mains. Even if you think your $10,000 speakers are better than your subwoofers, they're not. So for me, it's always going to be 80 Hz. Now, Acoustica has just been updated to allow these new receivers like mine to use 70. You can go here, 70. I don't have the firmware update yet though. So it was supposed to be at the end of this month, which is now. It was on a slow rollout, and I still haven't got it yet, so I'm keeping on trying just to see if I get it, but maybe I could try 70 Hz crossover to 80, but in all fairness, I don't think I need it, because if something is slightly too boomy for me, like say a standard Harman target curve, I just keep my crossovers at 80 Hertz, say, and slightly change the target curve. Actually, this is a good point. I need to change the target curve in here. Go to EQ, target settings, my music curve, no. Movies and music target curve. So my I have all of these linked if you want to look at them. These target curves that I made. In my opinion, this one here, the one that is made called movies and music, is much better for movies than the Harman curve is. The reason is the Harman curve is still a little too aggressive, I would say, on the rise of bass. It rises in bass too early compared to my target curve here. I just tapered it slightly. It didn't need much. I think it was like 0.4 dB. Tapered it nicely, and you can tell in the room it's so much more musical in bass. It's less boomy. I would, if you want to do this comparison in the target curve from say a Harman to say mine, think about Marantz bass, smooth, warm, that type of bass. Then think about a Denon bass, where it's a lot more pushy. You could almost say boomy. And that's really, for me, the difference in the target curve itself. Because it raises in bass, not slower, but later in bass than the Harman. It just sounds so much more musical. But it also sounds, in my opinion, better for bass movies, especially like movies like Tenet that are very aggressive on late bass. It's very aggressive. So just a few clicks here and there, you can get a much better sound. The musicality portion of this has a treble rise of around 2 dB at 12K. And that gives that musicality there. And there's no mid-range compensation on this. So for straight music though, like if I listen to straight 2-channel music, I do want my other target curve with a dip, mid-range compensation dip. To me, it makes music just sound better with that in place. It's literally a direct copy of Denon's dip, and they obviously did their research. In some situations, and I bet quite a few, it actually just makes music sound simply much better. But having that dip there makes no sense for a movie because it destroys dialogue clarity. Excuse me. Having any dips from 1K to 8K destroys dialogue clarity. So if you have a dip anywhere there, and you're specifically a movie watcher, you can't have a dip there. You can have a lean down like a Harman curve, that's fine. You basically want a straight line dipping down will give you excellent dialogue clarity. But if you've got actual dips in the target curve, nope. Doesn't sound good. Alright, mains, we're locking in 80 Hertz. We're not playing around here. Mains sound better at 80 Hertz through and through, in my opinion, because one, you can be listening to 2-channel music, and then you've got your 80 Hertz crossover. Movies, again, fine, 80 Hertz crossover. But with the center channel and these other channels, they could potentially need a little help, right? And I wouldn't typically do this if I wasn't enabling all pass filters. And I've talked about this in a previous video, so I don't really want to go on about this again, but for me and my ears, when you enable all pass filters, detecting where bass is coming from even up to around 120 hertz is actually much more difficult. So for me, as long as you can't place, as long as I can't place bass coming out of a subwoofer, that's all I care about. I want invisible bass. And this still gives it. But once I start going into the 150 hertz and the 160, you know, nah. Now I can tell it's coming from two boxes in my room, and the integration, I feel, if that's the right word here, into this surround sound system is the immersion is lost. Just for me, somehow that is lost. When I can't tell where bass is coming from, and here's for me, right? When I listen to two-channel music, when I listen to the bass and everything in my music, to me it sounds as though it's coming from my mains. It actually sounds as though you can't tell it's coming from two boxes in the two subwoofers in the corners. It actually sounds like it's coming from my speakers, and that's what I want. Again, if you can tell that a sound from the rear is getting put into that speaker, and then you can tell the sub where it's coming from, then for me the crossover's too high. So I would just continue to listen to that. Another one as well to be careful with is the center crossover here. Let's say you didn't change any of these settings and your center channel was set to 250 hertz. Let's just say it was. And when the calibration got sent, it picked 250 hertz. Not because of any reason with dialogue or anything like that. It just picks it because that is the best crossover technically for it to work with, right? I wouldn't do that at all. Trust me, I've tried it. I actually tried it about 4 days ago. You can hear voices coming out of the subwoofer. That's a ban. That's banned. That should be banned in any audio demo room you go to. There is no way you would ask someone, hey, do you think dialogue crossed over at 250 hertz is a good idea or not? And I'm pretty sure most people will say no. So it's great that we can cross over at 250 hertz, but this, there's the logistics of crossing over that high simply do not work for a center channel. 80 within the range of 80 hertz to 120, you cannot localize any dialogue going to the subwoofer. You can't do it. So, and especially with all pass filter, it just makes everything so clean. So for me, for this system, that's, I don't know, $35,000 system or so, this to me is the best setup. Downstairs is a slightly different setup that I use downstairs, and I found that center blend mode and all pass filters for that system works the best because it's a 3-channel system. And somehow that center blend makes the center channel completely blend in with everything else, and I don't know, it just really does, to me, just sound better. So this can be tailor-made for each system as well. And but this to me, right now, this to me with all pass filters is probably, apart from just locking things in at 80 hertz, you can do that. You can lock every channel in at 80 hertz if you want. But I think this for certain situations, like I have a center channel inside a component rack, I guess you could say, and there is potential boxiness from the bass ports on the rear, causing maybe too much not resonance, but kind of. If you take this bass, I'm pretty sure, at least I hope, it will pick 120 hertz for the actual center channel. And when the center channel isn't doing deep bass, it's only limited to 120 hertz, a lot of that deep kind of resonated male voices, even some females, won't be there. It just won't be there. And it actually improves dialogue clarity. For movies, I think we all know for movies that is essential. to have as much dialogue clarity on some of these movies as possible, because some movies mix their center channel and dialogue low. And I'm not a person that goes into each movie saying, well, I'm going to raise the center channel 2 dB to listen to this movie. I don't do that. I want to preserve integrity of the movies themselves with their levels. But if I can change the way my system is calibrated slightly to improve dialogue clarity, then I will do it. Now, one thing you could do is lock these in, the surround speakers, the Atmos speakers and everything like that, at 80 Hertz, but just do this little switch here of 80 Hertz to 120 for the center channel. If you are putting your center channel in any type of rack, stand, or anything like that, I think this is what will increase dialogue clarity for you. But again, I probably wouldn't go higher than 120. 120, now you start localizing bass going into that sub, doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound professional. So, they're the settings. Right. That's the center. And so hopefully I haven't just made a video for no reason, right? You know, this is probably going to be a 2-hour video here or longer, and I've been spouting off that this is, you know, the perfect subwoofer volume. What are we looking for? We're looking for the subwoofer channel to be around -8. As long as, to be honest, again, as long as it's more negative than -6, I'll generally be happy. But what we are looking for is around -8 to around -10, 11. Anywhere in that ballpark, I'm completely happy. So we should with the calculations we did, the Acoustica should say -10, right? We said it's at 85, 6 dB, 91, 2 dBs left, yeah. It should be -10, so we'll see. Let's go. Now the fun begins. So, some people do ask me, and I've seen like people responding about that I only measure from a single point. Basically, the reason I do that is to preserve tonality of my target curve. I noticed very, very quickly that even, say, using a Harman curve, that if you measure from, say, 6 different spots to the right, 6 different spots to the left, that the target curve that you're going for, somehow the sound just completely dries out. And I didn't like that. I really just didn't like what it did to the sound. One of the benefits of moving the mic, and from my experience, is the potential for that direct position potentially could have a dip, right? So the subwoofer could have a dip at, say, 60 Hertz, but 1 foot to the right, let's just say 1 foot. 1 foot to the right may not have that dip, right? And then go into the left. So if you was adamant about, like I am, about just single measurements, just a single measurement from the middle of the room, the middle seat in the room, then before you do that, it might actually be worth measuring a few different spots around it, just to confirm that, yeah, around in this spot, or in this area, like within a radius of, I don't know, 2 feet, at least 2 feet, that the bass is about equal to what it is in your absolute main listening position. And if that is the case, if you've actually got clean bass all the way around you, and this dip in the main listening position matches the information around you, then you don't really need to measure in 6 different positions. Because the point of measuring in 6 different positions is to make sure all of these averages are the same, or they're that one place isn't getting screwed up and you're boosting something for no reason. So that's for bass wise, I do see that there is potential there to move the mic here or there just to guarantee that single one spot isn't just causing the dip around it. But again, if you're moving a mic, like you've got your right speaker in front of you, if you're moving a mic to the right and you measure, it's going to measure different to the main listening position, even in an anechoic room. Why? Because the speakers don't produce even sounds completely all the way radiating like this. They don't do it. Speakers just don't. They're not like that. So the more you go right again, you're going to get a different response. The more you go right again, and by the time I angle my speakers, I tone my speakers in 15 degrees. So the more, so let's say I'm measuring the right speaker and I continue to come right. The more I'm coming right, the more I'm coming in line, completely in line with the speaker, where there's no toe-in whatsoever. So of course the response is going to be different. So again, tonality-wise, measuring different positions destroys it. Now, if REW had this option, and tell me if it does have this option, and that is to I know it does. I know you can do this, where you can blend one measurement with the other. Then that could be useful, because let's say you could blend all of your bass measurements for, say, a center channel, right? You could measure a center channel, say, 8 times in various different positions, not too far away, but generally getting an idea of the positions. What I would want to do is every single one of those, copy the original center measurement from, I would say, 500 hertz and above, and essentially splice it in to every single one of them. The reason why then is you wouldn't change tonality of the speaker, but you would potentially improve bass. You potentially could improve bass. I don't want the tonality to change. So I almost wish that was an option with, say, Acoustica, where you had it literally, you had to check mark it in the option screen just there, and it would only change the frequency of bass for the second, third, fifth, and up to 8 measurements, you know, as many measurements as possible. It wouldn't change the target for the main listening position. It would only change from, say, 200 hertz, maybe 250 hertz, or even 500 hertz below, something like that. So I'm not sure if you can do that. I know you can splice things, but the problem is if you splice one measurement to the other, I don't think you retain timing information. That's the problem. So it would have to be an option, I think, in Acoustica, where it's a check mark. It allows you to measure in 8 different positions, and it only EQs the differences for the 8 positions for bass. Like, I think the is it Schrodinger? I don't know if I'm thinking about something else. Am I thinking about Schrodinger that's in somebody's from 2 different points in space? Because I've been watching a lot of space documentaries. I don't know if it's that, but it's the point in the room where the room now starts to take over in inflating bass. For my room, I did the calculations. I think it's like 320 hertz, something like that, where bass really starts to like get inflated because of just the frequency and the size of the room and things like that. If you knew that going in, again, you could have an option in Acoustica to say, check this, and under it you can write the frequency. And the frequency would be 320 hertz. And your other measurements then would only correct the center channel bass region of those 8 measurements, but would keep the tonality of the original measurement. That would be such a good, for me, that would be very good. Because bass can be a little finicky with positions and things like that. Or, again, just do a check. You could even do moving mic, if anyone knows the moving mic method, where you just play random pink noise, full range pink noise, and just test it. See if that random pink noise, like, I mean, even if you're just moving it around in the main listening position, but your seat is 2 feet wide. Anyway, just see that whole area of that seat. Does it match the measurement of the single seat, of the absolute, that pin main listening position point? If it does, I'm not really seeing too much of a problem in bass. Alright, so this is finished. Now, I noticed the volumes were slightly off. So, well, the volume, I just saw it. So, relative volumes. Subwoofer 2, so, right. So the left sub was actually slightly higher. Relative. Okay. You know, they were close, right? This is technically in within 1 dB. I did the best I could. Again, one subwoofer is a bit of a peaky subwoofer, and this subwoofer is a bit more controlled. They're in roughly the right ballpark, within a dB. The last time I did it, there was no relative difference. So, for me, again, as long as it sounds, as long as these changes that I've applied here make it so when I hear bass, you definitely can't hear that it's from one side of the room or not. It really does sound cohesive as one. And if it does, great. It's made these changes. Again, very small. So what did we want to do from all of this? We wanted to know what the subwoofer volume was, right? So I went out. Well, we did the calculations and we said we wanted it around 10. Look at this. Look at the difference in distance between the left sub and the right sub. 0.01. Wow. So basically, this mic is about as centered in this room as you could get. Like, that's basically dead on. So, all right, let's have a look. Let's see what we've got. So the final target level was 73 dB. That's typical with this new way of volume matching from this app. It does tend to be lower, but I assume it's doing that because some of the other channels are low, so it will be bringing down the center channel then. Yeah, center channel negative 1.5. Even the fronts are 3 dB louder, so it's bringing them down 3. And then these other ones are a bit more relative, right? They're plus 1.5, 0.5, they're in that range. So that's essentially what it did. It took the average of all of the channels and put them to a certain point. It looks as though the SVS speakers, I have SVS center and left and right. They're top of the lines, and they're a lot more sensitive than these old ELACs. I think these ELACs are terrible for sensitivity. They're really bad. So I do want to upgrade to the new top of the line bookshelf SVS, and I'll get them everywhere. Atmos, rear surrounds, everything. But I might have to wait for a new house for that, I think. So. Which is not for a while. So 4 subs as well at some point, but not yet. So the high pass filter is at 17 Hertz. I think these subs say to be honest, I think these subs actually say they're to 16. So that's about right. And there we go. Alright, let's look. Let's see if all this, let's see if this video was worth it. So subwoofer volume -10.5, which is exactly where we knew it would be. I wanted it within -8 to a -11, but again, you now have a way with your target curve of knowing already where the volume would be. So -10.5, which for me is perfect because it's no longer so loud that Acoustica has to apply that negative target de-gaining, I guess you could say. Taking that away, you don't have to apply that. We're in the limits of the receiver, and it can apply this. And this is just really what I wanted. This may not change sound quality at all. This may not do anything. The sound might be exactly the same as I had before, but at least I know the volumes of my subs are now within range, right, of the receiver itself. -10.5 is very far away from clipping. And this receiver will never clip like this. So that's perfect. Excellent. So I'm going through a mini DSP, and it's only... I don't think the distances have changed that much, to be honest. So it looks as though it can still do what it needs to with even having a mini DSP plugged in. So yeah, that's it. So what I like to do is just label this movies. Really simple. And we'll keep this as well, movies. So we'll go back to this now. And now we can transfer these this file. So number 1, movies. Select a preset, number 1. That's my movie preset. I don't know why I've still got the door closed, because I don't need it. And now this sends. Now this will set the low pass filter for the LFE to 250 Hz. It doesn't sound good, so I would change it back to 120 Hz. The reason it doesn't is, again, I use reference discs like Tenet to always test bass. It's one of the best discs to actually test bass target curves, in my opinion. And 250 Hz sounds bad. You have to taper it down to 120 Hz, which is the default, which is what it's supposed to be. Okay, let's just see what's been applied. I don't really like to go too much into the receiver. There's a lot of things you don't want to... yeah, if you've never seen like one of these videos before, like with Acoustica, do not go into the levels on the remote. You can do it here in the web. Okay, yeah, it's been applied. Okay, so that's because of the relative difference. It's -11. It's, again, fine. So, yeah, you can do it here in the web. You might be able to do it on the phone app too, because you're not starting the test tones. Once you start those test tones, bang, the levels lock in now back to Denon and Marantz levels, not Acoustica, not your manual calibration here with multi-EQX. They're not far off, but you're missing all of that fine level adjustments, like 3.46, to be exact, 3.36 or whatever. You then lose that as soon as you go into there on the receiver. Same with distances. It's the same with distances. It's actually worse with distances because OCA is using special distances to get more out of the receiver. Let's see. Yeah, so these have changed. The default of 2.75 for the fronts, though, appears again because this microphone is centered so well. It's basically got the distances the same as well. So I made sure because I had to pull the speaker out, put in the subwoofer cables in. And if you know me, I was not we were not watching the movie that night until I got that right speaker in exactly the same position as the left. So yeah. So subwoofers 822, they're basically both the same. Crossovers. So the fronts are locked. The center's at 80 hertz now. Really? That's different. This calibration's different. The measurements are slightly different then. Now I have updated REW to the latest version. These are like essentially the mini DSP is fully updated. I got all the new software for. I had to reboot this PC because it was like bugging out. So it is a new reinstall. But I got all the driver updates for the mini, the UMic 2. I've got all of the updates, but it's actually picking 80 hertz. That's interesting. Surrounds 120, 100, 120, 120. Again, for me, if I can't localize bass and potentially taking that bass muffle away from these speakers and giving it to the subwoofer, and again, I can't localize it, I don't care. As long as I can't localize the bass, it doesn't matter to me what this says. As long as I can't localize it. As soon as I can, then I have to change it. So now remember, I can run another Acoustica if I want to, lock in and everything at 80 hertz, and just have an 80 hertz version. So you can do whatever you want. You can redo this. So subwoofer out. Let's just double check. Yeah, LFE. So low pass filter is set to 250 hertz. No. Back to 120. And I think that's about it. So yeah, that is it. Now, because this is the first time, we're going to save these. So Acoustica calculations. That's not right. Calculations. So they're all saved. Let's take a couple of measurements and then we'll end it. So crossover is in place, so let's just see how it looks. Like how good is that? What was the target level at? 72 something. Target 71.4, right? It's 71.14. So if I put this in, if I put a target in, what did I use? I used this one. Bring this in. 72.14. Okay, you can only do 72.1. 73.1, sorry. Let's see how close that is. Measure. I was going to say, I was like, the bass is low. Alright, remove. Remove. Let's go again. Okay, better. Okay, center. Okay. Another. Let's do another one. Let's do the fronts. Just see what that one looks like. Oh, it's only versus the target. Oh, okay. So one sec. I want to match the target level with the actual response itself. So 70.7. Right, so one up. There we go. Okay, just checking. Just getting the target level the same. Okay. Whew, there's a rise there in treble for this speaker. It's definitely slightly different to before. Left. Let's check a Atmos speaker. Front height. Let's just see how they look. Let's get this out. Okay, we actually have a pretty heavy bass rise here, but it's okay. Following the target, okay. Now, I had discussions as well with OCA about the EQ still being like kind of wavy like this, and even though it is wavy like this, there's still some EQ work done on it to improve the actual sound and the response. And I have found that over EQ actually does make the sound worse. So I still think while the response here itself might look absolutely dazzling, what it actually sounds like is significantly better. It's like the front left, for example. Let's get these off. The front left from, I think even from 1K, is aggressively bright and actually rises like this. It's just rising. But look, this has tapered this down, brought it more in line, and we've got this musical bump here at 12K, which I really like. Cymbals and things like that. This is far away from harshness, and yeah, this is really nice. Now there's some bass things here that are difficult to actually fix. I've heard this is actually a problem with the speaker. It is the transition from mid-range to bass drivers. So it could, the angle of the speaker could make a difference and things like that. But I'm not necessarily worried about like things like in this area. Like even for the center channel, it has this dip, like around here. I'm not really, I don't really care about raising the bass too much there, because there's a lot of muffle that you can get from a center channel in this area. And if this actually became a problem where it was raising things too much in this area, you could go and use Acoustica again with different settings, and instead of letting it pick between 80 Hz and 120, actually force 120 Hz and see if it cleans some of that dialogue clarity up. So you can just experiment now. Now you have the measurements, and the measurements were done as clean as possible. You can really now do whatever you want with the settings themselves. So let's try a rear height left. Let's try one of those and see what we have. Okay, so this is rear height left Atmos channel, and again, it's really doing everything that I want it to do, following the target within reason, and not using absolutely aggressive EQ, but it's still able to apply this feathery light tweeter action for musicality and things like that, that makes the speaker sound really good. Like these ELAC bookshelves, they might be $500 a pair, but I'm really bad with how much things cost sometimes. I think they used to be, at least, and I know they have a newer version out as well now, but not out of this world performance. They actually have really good bass, these speakers, which is very lucky, even though the sensitivity is not so great. But I'm the type of person that if I've now upgraded my system like to SVS, front and left and right, I want everything else to be SVS as well. But in all fairness, when you have a system like Acoustica that can calibrate speakers this well, and calibrate in such a fine way, have the levels balanced, that everything is matched, and as long as you're not pushing your speakers beyond their own capability, there's no distortion or anything like that, you really, like, these are more than enough for my surround sound speakers, my Atmos speakers. Like, I don't think people actually use in-ceiling height Atmos speakers, I think, a lot of the times, and they're completely underpowered. Like, I'm using, like, you know, basically full bookshelves as my Dolby Atmos speakers, and typically, I would again say typically, these speakers, surrounds included and everything, are typically effects channels, right? Typically. As long as they can, for me, as long as your theatre isn't absolutely massive and you do need like significantly more power, you know, speakers in the 150 watt range, you know, are going to be more than enough to have these support channels, I'll call them. Obviously, when you get to your mains, you know, that is a different story. You do need something quite beefy, not so much power, but just the fact that it can produce clean sounding music with no resonance coming out of the box itself. You know, my old ELACs, the floor stand of these produce quite a lot, not a lot, but a bit of resonance in the cabinet themselves. And if you play too loud, you can actually hear that. Whereas with these new SVS, you can't. Like, the sound is completely smooth, clean, even at high levels and volumes. So, yeah. So that's how that's a long video. I'm sorry guys, but that was a long video. That is how I deal with subwoofer volume levels and calibrate the entire system. I've killed two birds with one stone here. This is now my calibration. Luckily, the sub levels are so close that if I wanted to measure again, I really wouldn't have to do anything. I think that sub there could come down just a fine hair by the looks of it. Or I could apply the offset in the mini DSP. I could apply a 0.5 in the mini DSP and probably iron out that volume difference. So there's something there I could do as well. But for me, I've let the system calibrate it. There are minor offset differences like that, or relative differences. I'm fine, as long as it sounds good, which I'm very confident it will, then that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you now have an idea of how you want to figure your bass levels out, again, everything is based on your target level. That's all this is. Whatever your target level, or whatever you want to measure your speaker at, like I did 75 dB, because to me 75 dB makes the system sound really nice after a calibration. If you want to go slightly lower, 70, 72, then match everything to 72, see where the target is, see where that target level is, and then how much you need to raise your, then start sweeping your subwoofer. A single sub, just keep sweeping it until you get your average level of wherever you want it. And obviously know that if you do have a second sub, volume will be increased by another 6 dB. If you have a third and then even a fourth, it'll be 18 dB. So you already have an idea of what the volume levels will be on the receiver. You know, if you've got your levels done correctly in the first place. So once I figured out how to do this, I demoed this on my downstairs system, and it worked out perfectly. Sounded great, and I was very happy with it. So yeah, I hope this helps, and have a great day. Bye.